Joining us now on ICANN Media is Brian Whittle. And Brian, you're with a company called Intertek. You're at the Global Petroleum Show to give a presentation. Perhaps you can tell us what it's about and what it's titled.
Well, thank you. It's we're going to be presenting on COMPEX. It's an international competency-based training program. It was originally started in the UK, and it's administered around the world. And it focuses on training for different levels, individualized courses, specialized for different applications. But some of the main and most popular courses are for those that are installing and maintaining equipment in hazardous locations. So the whole program was spawned out of a tragic accident in the North Sea and realization that there needs to be more training for those that are frontline workers that are installing and repairing that equipment. So the idea is to provide hands-on training, give them the basic understanding, and then to also provide hands-on training. And then since then it's evolved over the years, and there's a couple of other modules, some designed for people who are designing the equipment and choosing the equipment that's supposed to be installed in the application, some for more mechanical and less electrical, and yeah, I think, and there's a foundations course as well. That's just a shorter version that tells us about the foundations. So it's it's a very interesting and evolving seminar and program, and it's definitely designed to help bring these offshore applications and other applications to be a more safe place, and that's the end goal through training.
So how do you simulate, I guess, a hazardous situation? Because it's one thing to train in something, and it's another thing to actually have to deal with it.
And I think that's what COMPEX is one of their I guess achievements, is that it's a very hands-on course. So they actually we have a couple of fixed there are fixed sites throughout the world. Intertek has a number of fixed sites, and we also have a mobile site. And so there's classroom work when they talk about the basics, but there's also very much a hands-on where we have rigs that have simulated equipment that the technicians would see in the field in real life, and then they go and actually practice making connections, and then they're actually tested on that to make sure that they've learned correctly what they've done.
So are they in essence tested then on how to do it properly as opposed to what happens to deal with a disaster, or is it a bit of both?
It's more the installation and maintenance. So if they've done it right the first time, there shouldn't be a problem later. So that's the idea, is really making sure it's done right. You can buy correct equipment, but how it's installed and how it's maintained ends up being a big portion of providing the overall safety that's required.
Obviously, it's an industry where safety is of paramount importance. I think, though, that this is where a lot of accidents happen, is people get used to doing it the same way all the time, and they might cut corners because they've done it and they've gotten away with it. How do you instill in them the fact that it's really important for them to follow procedures?
Yeah, the competency-based training really talks about that. The last portion of it is that real desire. So the idea with the program is first to create that awareness, people, so they actually understand what they're doing and not doing. And then the last part is really to help them understand that through their safe actions, they're going to ensure the safety of all those that are there on the offshore rig with them or wherever the application is. So, yeah.
You talk about hazardous environments. What are some of the hazardous environments you train people for here in Alberta?
Primarily for the COMPEX is really designed for the offshore rig, because the safety is obviously important. If there's an event or an accident, it's very hard to get away safely. So definitely that's the main place. But hazardous locations is actually just about anywhere where you can have a combustible atmosphere. So that can be in oil and gas refineries. We also do combustible dust, combustible grain atmospheres, in elevators, anywhere where there's a chance of explosion, either from combustible dust or filings or gas. So.
Are people taking this more seriously? We've heard from the oil industry that, yes, as I mentioned earlier, it is something they're looking at. Do you find that the working environment as a whole is looking a little bit harder at safety overall?
I think so. There's a lot at stake, so you definitely, there's a health and safety component that a lot of people are involved in, and then on the electrical side, there's, I guess maybe a lot of the companies get involved in the everyday, and it's so providing them that opportunity, and hopefully through our education through COMPEX, providing them the opportunity to understand that their role, their part they play in safety doesn't stop after they've installed it. There's the maintenance that continues on, and the ability to ensure that the whole place remains safe. So that's kind of what we're trying to get the message across. And I think overall in Alberta, there's a pretty high level of safety and an awareness for safety. So we've heard of the tragic accidents in other places. So there's definitely a desire to not let that happen here. So I'd say that overall there's a good level of safety, but there can always be more.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Thank you.
We've been chatting with Brian Whittle from Intertech here at the Global Petroleum Show in Calgary.